This week's alternative browser theme on iPad Today is brought to you by GoToMeeting. Face-to-face meetings are sometimes important, but they can be a hassle and a waste of money, so do more and travel less with GoToMeeting. For your free 30-day trial, visit gotomeeting.com/iPadShow. This week, we are doing something you demanded also.
That's right.
In fact, I would never have thought of this. In fact, I think when we read the letter last week, I said, but there's no such thing.
Well, because we read a viewer video from, oh gosh, what's his name? Now I forget, but I've got the old. It was from Brent from Springfield, New Jersey, and he had said, hey, I like Atomic Browser.
Okay.
It's an app that replaces Safari if you're not happy with Safari. But I'd like you guys to let me know what other options are and what are the good stuff. And you said...
There ain't none. This is it. What else do you need?
Yes, we are sure. And thanks to all of you for sending in so many ideas.
How many browsers are there? Like a dozen?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, like a dozen
There's quite a few.
that were suggested to me and that I've at least come across. Yeah, there are a few of varying quality.
I want to point out from a technical point of view, they're all using really the same base. They're using WebKit, which is what Safari uses. So really all you're doing is getting a different skin on the same browser engine.
Right.
But some different features.
Some different features. It's just... People are always weird about their browsers. You like things your way.
Right.
You want to be able to use certain features. Some things people really care about. Other features people don't. So browsers is one of those things that I feel like people get kind of rabid about the way that they like to do things. So what we decided to do with this is instead of just going over all the options you had, we tallied up what kind of got the most popular responses, and then we went through and split up between what we liked and what you liked. And so we're going to highlight
3.
4. Yeah.
This is Atomic Browser. This is the one I had used of all of them. And this is 99 cents.
Yeah, so Atomic Browser, known as Atomic Web on the app, is far and wide the most popular alternative browser. Not necessarily the most favorite, but really the most widely used.
One thing you see immediately, it's got tabs.
It's got tabs, and I've got a bunch open now. Now, what's kind of weird about this is there aren't any sort of, you can scroll with your finger between tabs if you've got a lot open, but you don't have sort of a back and forth, so that's a little bit wonky.
What do you mean back and forth? Like you can't?
Well, like there's no sort of left arrow if you wanted to.
You have to touch.
Yeah, you have to touch. So some people will be impressed by that, and some people will be annoyed.
Like drag that over?
No.
You're kind of stuck with the order.
You can't do that.
All right.
What's nice about Atomic, though, is that I tried to see what I maxed out at, and I got to 30 tabs.
Wow.
And everything was loading. It was slow, but everything was loading. So, I mean, suffice it to say, you can open almost as many tabs as you would on your normal browser without any problems. Here's where Atomic gets cool, though, and it's all in the settings. Tab browsing is great. But if you click the little settings tab here, you can quickly enable private mode and do a lot of, increase font size and adjust brightness or hide the tab bars. That's kind of obvious stuff. But if you go into this actual settings tab here, this is where the customization goes through the roof because you can choose, let's say you want to load on startup all of your, what I like to do when I load it up is I want all my tabs open that were open last time because, I never really finish what I'm doing. Or you could just do last page views. You can set a home page, et cetera, et cetera. Privacy options are great. Go into private mode. You can add a passcode to your browser if you're going to let somebody use your iPad and you don't want them futzing around. Clear history, those sorts of things. Ad block settings. Okay, so before I get into ad block settings, I'll show you how well it works. Now, I'm going to use Mashable, not because there's anything wrong with Mashable. That just happens to be the website that I'm using as an example. Okay, so you can see there's some ads here, right? That's pretty standard, especially on some of the popular blogs. Now, if I go back into my settings, I go back into my ad block settings, and then I go ahead and enable ad block. So it was off by default, and I enable it. And I go ahead and close my settings, and we'll just go ahead and reload this. Reload. Why won't you reload?
This is, for more than just aesthetics, it also saves you some load time. Because you don't have to load the images that go along with the ads.
Right. So here, as you can see, that little Google ad that was there is no longer there anymore. So some folks like me, I mean, I have to admit, I'm not so crazy about ad blocking features. I really don't use them regularly. Some people do. You know who you are. This is really, really easy to enable, and it works really well on Atomic. A lot of other settings that we don't have time to go into, but suffice it to say, the customization is really, really, really great. The only thing that I don't know. I mean, when I look at all my tabs and everything, there's nothing wrong with it. I can't really pinpoint what bothers me about it, but it does look a little I don't know. It's not as pretty as Safari, but
I would say all of these I had that problem. None of them, they all look a little clunky. They didn't look quite as polished as Safari.
a little clunky. Really quick.
But having 32 tabs is nice because Safari's only got 9. So that's, 9 windows at a time. So
yeah,
that's good.
I mean, I got to 30 and then I sort of
That's
got
pretty
bored
good.
with the project and moved along. So I'm not really sure what it maxes out
could be
at.
more.
But yeah, exactly. Really quick before I get to my new one, I just wanted to quickly mention if you are looking for a free browser alternative, this one I kind of half recommend it because it's not really that feature rich, but it's called Ilune Escape. It's free. There's a 6-tab max, but everything that I kind of had a problem with Atomic browser in aesthetics, I don't have.
It's prettier.
It's prettier. It's very simple. You've got a 6-tab minimum, but it loads quick, and it kind of does what you need it to do if you're looking for something simple and free. And
I don't understand though. Why
settings.
would you get this? Why would you get any of these I mean, I guess ad blocking. Okay, that's something Safari doesn't do. So that's one reason.
Well, I think tab browsing is a really big deal because Safari on all iOS,
no tabs.
It's and the whole weird that visual. I mean, I really dislike that way of navigation. So these
might be a little faster, I guess, because they're maybe a little lighter weight.
Right.
I mean, there may be a thing here or there that you gain. That's, I guess, why I kind of didn't really pay much attention to alternative browsers. I like Safari. What about this other one? You want to do Mercury, or should I do one of mine?
I'll go through Mercury really quick. The reason that Mercury is great, in my opinion, is it's almost exactly the same. By the way, this is 99 cents too for the Pro version. They have a free version, but it doesn't have as many options. So I recommend the Pro for $1. The reason that I like Mercury is it almost does exactly everything that Atomic does. However, these settings are prettier.
Right.
As you noticed when we were going through the Atomic settings, they were there. They were pretty bare bones.
This is a more traditional iPhone
This
settings.
looks like an iOS kind of a thing going on. So we've got functions, we've got privacy settings, we've got services. Mercury tries to plug some of its other apps that are not free, by the way, in here. So whether you're interested in those or not is up to you. But as far as user interface goes, it has nice scrolling and things like that. I mean, this is a nice looking browser. It's the same price as Atomic. Fewer features, but if you like the way that they look, then it's probably your best bet. So
we should point out none of these will do Flash.
Right.
They're not going to do the things that the iPad won't do because it's just using WebKit. So it's going to do exactly what Safari will do, except maybe user interface differences like tabbed browsing. Full screen is another one that some of these have, and I kind of like that. Now, one thing I have noticed is that you're on your own as far as bookmarks go. The nice thing about Safari, you can sync using Mobile Me to your desktop Safari bookmarks. And I do that because I don't want to have to put in bookmarks. You're starting from scratch with each new browser you use, as far as I can tell. None of them, and I think that's because of the way iPads are set up, none of them will import.
Oh, you know one thing about Mercury that I didn't mention? It has a good download manager, too.
Oh, that's nice.
So if you're downloading stuff or you want to save pages for later, it has a nice little visual download manager that works really well. All right, I'm done.
This is a browser that actually has, I think, some use if you use LastPass. If you're a LastPass user, and we talked about this on Security Now. I've used it for a long time. It is a really great password manager at LastPass.com. It's free. There's also a $1 a month version that gives you a few more features, although the free version is probably all you need. LastPass works on Windows, Mac, Linux, most mobile platforms, including iPhone and Android, and, yes, on the iPad. In fact, it works in a kind of interesting way on the iPad. You can get the iPhone LastPass application and get all your passwords and stuff, but you can also use the LastPass browser, and it's a very bare bones, simple browser, very much like these other browsers that we're talking about. With one addition, it knows all your LastPass passwords. You have to log into LastPass, and you may, depending on your situation, you may have to set up your LastPass credentials in here ahead of time. I've memorized a password just for ease of use. You probably wouldn't want to do that. Otherwise, people have access to all of your passwords. But this is great. Here's a nice tabbed browser. And when I log into a site, like, say, my Yahoo Mail, you'll see these little LastPass icons. LastPass fills in any passwords that it knows. And in my case, that's almost everything. And I can just press the sign in button. I don't have to ever type in a password ever again.
I love that.
So this is, I don't know if you would use it to replace your browser, but if you're going to a secure site and you don't want to have to remember the password, this is handy. The usual abilities here to change the user agent, block images, open links to different domains and new tabs. You do want to have, now again, I turned this off, but turn this on, log out of LastPass on close so that nobody has, otherwise anybody who gets access to your iPad will have access to all of your password protected sites. So I'm going to turn that back on again right now. This is a very handy tabbed browsing. Very simple, but very handy if you want to know, you want to be able to quickly log into accounts and you don't have the password. LastPass, it's free, the LastPass browser. And then finally, a browser that says it's perfect.
Because
it is.
It's the perfect web browser.
I don't know why they call it the perfect browser. Self-proclaimed perfect. It looks like a lot of these other ones. Pretty clean UI. Yes, it does do tabbing. You can add another tab just by pressing the plus button. I can go to a site. Again, I have the same problem here, which is it doesn't have it has my history, as you can see that popped up, but it doesn't have my bookmarks like Safari does. I'm loading TWiT here. It is
colorful. I'll give perfect that.
It's got colored stars. You bookmark it. This will feel very familiar to people who use, say, Chrome. Here's one thing that the iPad browser does not have. Safari does not have search in page, and that does drive a lot of people crazy. So if you're looking for in-page search capability, this can do that. It does have a full screen mode and easy to get out of. You just have a little button down here. But, for some people, if you want to do full screen browsing, and I think the iPad kind of lends itself to that, this is great. And a passel of settings. You can change font size. You can say they call it desktop rendering, but this is choosing how it renders depending, you could have it render as if it's on a Google Chrome browser or some other browser. That's essentially the same thing as changing the user agent.
They have IE9 available?
That's a good question. Probably not.
Probably not.
They have Internet Explorer, but I don't know if they have IE9. IE 6, 7, 8.
Yes. All right.
Sorry.
Get on that. Perfect.
They have a private mode. They have a scroll bar. If you like scroll bars, I don't know. I mean, I think the nice thing about the iPad is you don't need a scroll bar, but they do have a scroll bar. And then a passel of settings. No ad blocking, but a lot of other, mostly cosmetic settings.
You can block images if you want.
Block images. You can block pop-up windows, of course. It will use Google Web Compression. That's a nice feature if you don't care what a site looks like, but you just want to make it small. And it allows you to set cookies so that and this is what I recommend and Steve Gibson recommends, allow cookies from websites, but only the ones that you visit, no third-party cookies. So, okay, there it is. That's another, you asked for a whole bunch of browsers. Here's another one. This one's the most expensive of the bunch. The perfect web browser, extraordinary browser with real tabs, auto scroll, and rapid VGA, and it is $2.99. Now they say that's a launch promotion price, so it may go up at some point.
Yeah, I mean $3 is plenty. You got to really like the browser for that. I liked Perfect Browser a lot, but I have to say with all of these, all of the browsers tout, if you want to turn off images for fast loading, we've got that option, and you think, okay, in theory, it's nice to have the option, but the iPad is like the last place that I want images turned off.
You want images.
It's my visual, that's the stunner part of this guy. So that's not something that really wows me, but again, browsing is all about the way that you want to do it. It's a customizable thing. People like what they like. So now you have a bevy of options. If you didn't know about any of these, now you do.
One other thing I didn't try in this, but it proclaims that you can use the VGA connector to display pages out. So if you're looking for a way to display pages out of your iPad, you should try this.
In fact, somebody who recommended Perfect to us says he's a teacher and he is using it with success.
That's what you would want it for.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a good reason to use it.
Which is, I guess, why they can charge $3.
Yeah, lots on a lot of lists as must-have apps for the iPad. So, I mean, what can I say? If you know you need some of those features, then get it.
There you go.
It's funny. I'm not happy with Safari.
Well, it's again, people like what they like.